We should be live.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 330. It is the 17th of March, 2021. We got almost the full gang here today. We're gonna go around, say some hellos, probably talk about the weather. Maybe I'll ask Hernan about something, maybe a shirt, see if he's got a semantic mastery shirt or something else on today. And then, finally, we will get to your very important questions, which we will answer as best we can. So Hernan, as promised, I'm going to start with you. What shirt are you wearing today?
Aha, baby.
Mastery. Nice, looking good.
Yeah, the OG. Good, man. It's good. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be at Hump Hangout. Excited to be one more episode. We're doing this thing, so it's good.
Outstanding. And next we got Chris. How you doing today?
Good. Glad to be here. Can't wait. I've been recording a couple of videos, so yeah, super exciting stuff coming up here soon.
Yeah, what is it, guys? What is there something coming down the pipeline? Should people be excited or expecting something? Hernan, Bradley?
Maybe.
No support. I know you guys talked about it last week. We're looking forward to sharing some more. We've had Essie on. I don't want to spill all the beans right now, but next week, the big update to Syndication Academy is dropping. That is going to go live, and there's a lot of good stuff coming with that. So if you are watching this, there's high likelihood that you're an email subscriber, whether you just get the newsletters or whether you're a paying member of one of the groups. If you're not, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're checking it out on the Hump Day Hangout page, I would highly suggest going either to the website, semanticmastery.com, or if you're watching this live, head down, hop on the email list. You're definitely going to want to hear about this, and there's going to be a very special offer for people who are subscribers. So with that out of the way, Bradley, how you doing today?
Good, busy as all hell, but things are really good. I've been working on all kinds of crazy stuff for my new agency, and I've got a meeting with one of my tree guys tonight, as soon as we get done with Hump Day Hangouts, actually, to have him start beta testing this app that I developed for my tree contractors. So it's kind of cool. This is the first time I've ever dealt with trying to sell like an app before, or software as a service, and so this is new to me, and I kind of gonna have to go kind of squash bugs and beta test it. And I've got a meeting with him tonight, and then I've got a potential meeting with another tree contractor next week, so I'll have two beta testers in there, which will be kind of cool. But I'll share more about that when it's more appropriate. But it's pretty cool. It's a great way to generate nice streams of income for, it's not a whole lot of money, but it's just an additional service that you can tack on to for clients that once they start using a SaaS app like that, it's hard for them to get away from using it. So it's almost like, even if they want to stop your paying for marketing services, if the app that they're using is an integral part of their lead management or workflow, then they're likely to keep that even if they suspend marketing services, if that makes sense. So it's just a way to keep recurring income from even past clients. Pretty cool, but I'll share more about that when it's more appropriate. That said, I just also want to expand on very briefly Syndication Academy, guys. This is completely been redone. I mean, from front to back. So it's 100% updated for 2021 with all of the changes and everything else, and the way that we use it is we still use our syndication networks, but they're used in they're powerful in a different way than they used to be. And all of that is covered extensively in the new training. We've got a list of over 300 sites that are going to be added. Like we're going to go through those in the update webinars that Essie's going to be doing probably once every 2 weeks. Another 2 or 3 properties will be covered to help expand the entity footprint. This has been long overdue. So we're really, really proud of what's coming out. So make sure you guys are on the notifications list for that next week.
Most certainly. And if you're new to Semantic Mastery, you're new to MGYB, you're not sure where to start. Like I said, first thing, hop on the email list so you can stay up to date, or head over to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But then we, highly recommend going to the SEO Shield, the word the SEOshield.com. Find out how to shield your site. You won't have to worry about algorithm updates, and you'll find out what this SEO Shield is that you probably hear us talking about all the time. And syndication networks and the Syndication Academy is a big part of that. So that's free training. Go and check that out. If you're looking for more step-by-step processes involving kind of the big picture for SEO, you can grab the battle plan at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. If you're an agency owner, or maybe you're a consultant like myself, you want to get more clients, you want to grow your revenue, you want to scale your team, If you want to find out more about that, go check out 2x Your Agency, and that's at 2xyouragency.com. And then if you're ready to really grow, then you probably want to join an experienced community. You would want faster access to real world info and, be able to get in contact with people like Bradley, myself, Marco, Hernan, Chris, as well as your peers. And you can do that in the mastermind. And you can find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And at the beginning of this, I mentioned MGYB. That's where you can get all of your done for you services, things like embeds, link building, press releases, the SEO Shield, done for you syndication networks, all sorts of good stuff. If you haven't, go check it out, mgyb.co. And last but not least, I mentioned this last week, I believe, or the week before, we have decided that POFU Live is going to be virtual again this year, just with everything going on in the world. We're not sure where we would be able to hold it, when we could do it exactly. So we want to be able to draw a line in the sand, let everyone know when that date's going to be, and start planning around that. So 2020 was virtual. It was great. The feedback was just as good, if not better than the years before. So we're going to aim to do that again, take it up a notch, get some more great speakers. I've already been in touch with the guys. We had Jordan Fowler, Brian Caddo. We're looking at a couple others to bring on. Just an amazing content and some great presentations, not only from them, but from us as well. So looking forward to sharing that with you all. And as soon as we get this up and we get a date decided, we will share more info and you can pre-order tickets. So as usual, we offer a great discount for people who buy those up front and say, hey, yeah, I'm in 100%. Let's get this going. So we do a limited time, kind of an early access deal. And so we'll let everyone know about that. So besides that, guys, is there anything else we need to let people know about before we dive in?
Not that I can think of.
Let's do it.
All right, let's
Go,
do it.
go, go.
Time.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm typing a note in the Slack for you guys.
Just kidding, not question
Just a
time.
minute. Okay. Remind me to mention what I dropped a note in Slack about. We can chat about that. Just remind me about it, somebody.
Nice. We'll do.
All right. Let me grab the screen. Got a lot of questions already, so. Okay, everybody see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Mic is
There's
up.
that good-looking guy on the Zoom screen up there. Man, what a
Scroll
great
down, scroll
Zoom
down.
screen.
Quick.
Mike says, hello, everyone. Is it a good idea to upload a YouTube channel, many different short videos? I'm talking about those simple, stupid short videos that don't give me any value, but only target different keywords in a niche, slides with text and animation like the tools they sell on jvzoomarket. Should I upload around 100 short videos targeting different keywords? Thanks. That's actually a really good strategy for what's called poking. If you have, that's a term that's been around for years, but I can't remember who came up with that idea first, but there's been a bunch of tools developed for poking, which is like, and YouTube's great for that. If you're doing a lot of video SEO stuff, here's the thing. Okay, so yes, that's a good idea if you're trying to figure out which keywords are easiest to rank, if that makes sense for videos. Okay, because remember, you're talking about YouTube, so obviously Google likes YouTube because it's its own property, its own asset, so it will rank YouTube videos. However, I've noticed, at least for local stuff, which is pretty much all I do, videos don't rank like for locally based buyer intent keywords like they used to. So I stopped trying to do video SEO for, sometimes they still rank, but I don't purposely try to get videos to rank anymore because I use Google Ads for that. So I'm just saying that as a disclaimer for full transparency, because I'm going to share with you why poking was good when I used to do a lot of it. And I'm assuming that that's still a valid tactic. But I don't do that anymore. So that said, when it came to poking videos, like Video Marketing Blitz was a good product for that. Peter Drew's got a bunch of products. Live Rank Sniper was one of them. Hangout Millionaire was another one. So there's a ton of JVZoo products, like you said, but essentially just create these, like Live Rank Sniper, by the way, Peter Drew's Live Rank Sniper was really good for that because you didn't even need a video. The tool would go out and create scheduled live events or live streams from YouTube, which will index, and you don't even need a video because they're scheduled. So YouTube will assign a YouTube URL to the scheduled live event, and it will index even before there's even a video. So you didn't even need a video with Live Rank Sniper. You could just set up your keyword list and then hit Live Rank Sniper, and it will go out and just create multiple live scheduled live streams. And then it had a tool in it that would go determine, you know, it was like a rank checker essentially to tell you which indexed scheduled live streams, excuse me, which ones, where they were ranking. And I think it would only check on the first page or maybe the first 2 pages. So I can't remember because like I said, it's been a while since I used it, but it would go back and determine which ones ranked. And so any of if I remember correctly, I used to set a filter on it that would say only return the results that are on the top 10. So like if I set up a campaign to test or to poke 100 keywords, you know, you might end up with, you know, 18, 20, 25, whatever, however many keywords that would show as ranking on page 1. Well, those would be the ones that then I would start to target with an actual video. So, and what was cool about that is it would tell you which keywords would likely rank easily with a real video. And then you could actually focus your video content around those keywords so that they would be even better. And it's kind of a way to shortcut like the process, because you can start getting traction from those videos that rank easier a lot faster, and then use those to kind of like leapfrog some of the other keywords that would be more difficult. So for example, if you're familiar with using playlists for silos, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to YouTube. Or I think is it youtube.silo.academy or yt.silo.academy?
I'm pulling it up right now. yt.silo.academy.
Yeah, I thought it was YT because
yeah, we've got 2 now. So anyway.
Yeah. So YouTube Silo Academy, if you look it up, you'll find it. That's a product that I put together like, I don't know, long time ago, 6-7 years ago now, but it's still valid. So what I'm saying is if you can set up silos using playlists and you target the keywords at the top of the silo that are already ranking, and then you can start stacking your other keywords in that silo, it can help, if that makes sense. So yes, those tools can be good, at least when I used to use them. I haven't really focused on any sort of video SEO now for probably 2 years, maybe even a little longer, because I use YouTube ads to drive traffic to videos now. But in the past, that was a great strategy that I used often. And again, I think I used Video Marketing Blitz, which was Abs Ravji's tool, which was good. It had a pretty steep learning curve though, but it was a great tool at the time. I don't know if that still works though, but Live Rank Sniper was Peter Drew's tool. And that worked great because like I said, you didn't even need a video. And I know he keeps his tools updated. So you might want to check on that one if you don't already have one. So anybody want to comment on that?
No, I think, yeah, you definitely covered it. You know, it depends on, that would probably be the best way to go about it. I was just getting stuck on the like content production side of this, like how should I do it? And I think that, you know, if you do what Bradley says, that's a great way to see what you can do. But then beyond that, you know, I wouldn't invest, and this is just me, so take this with a grain of salt, but I wouldn't invest a ton of time putting out these short videos unless you're doing it as a test, because otherwise, like, what's the conversion going to be on that stuff, you know, for anything? You know, I'd rather put out 1 video a week that is at least worthwhile to somebody and that is going to draw a conversion, instead of putting out 100 videos this week, but long-term, they're basically going to flop. So
there you go. And he's got a 10% discount. So you get it for about $60 a month for Live Rank Sniper. And that's Peter Drew's tool, like I said. And and he says updated 2021 edition. So I'm sure that this is, and again, I'm sure you can probably find other tools. I just know that his tools are always updated. Peter Drew's a sharp guy. He's been a friend of Semantic Mastery for a long time. And yeah, see, he even talks about poking right here. It's a great tool. It really is. It's a great tool. I don't use it much anymore because I don't really do video SEO, but when I did, this was one of my favorite tools for sure. So, okay, moving on. Randy says, hey everyone, in the last Hump Day Hangouts, Bradley mentioned something called domain authority stacking. Can you please elaborate on this a little bit more? How does it differ from RYS drive stacks? Well, it was an older tactic that was, it worked like crazy years ago. I'm talking like 2013, 2014 timeframe. So we're talking 7-8 years ago now. But domain authority, which obviously is a Moz metric, it's a proprietary metric. This was right after they took the page rank scoring away, where Google stopped displaying page rank and sharing that information. And so, at the time, domain authority and page authority were probably, the most accurate type of metrics to determine like the rankability or the, if you could boost domain authority past a certain threshold, you could rank easily. And that was, I mean, that's not the case anymore, just so you know. I mean, there may be some, obviously, there might be some exception to all that, but we at Semantic Mastery stopped focusing on third-party proprietary metrics long ago, like 4 years ago at least. We stopped worrying about all those metrics. I don't care whether it's Ahrefs or Majestic or Moz or any of those, because we just don't care. We work on, semantic-based SEO, which is based on entities and it's based about relevancy. And what Marco always says is art, activity, relevance, trust, and authority. And so we're able to do that without focusing on metrics, and we're able to get results without focusing on metrics because those are third-party metrics. So, and again, so I'm just prefacing all of this so that you're aware that domain authority stacking stopped working like it did several years ago, and we kind of got away from doing anything where we would try to manipulate third-party metrics because they're just that. They're third-party metrics, which I know they have their algorithms and such and all that are, they're smart algorithms that determine the power and authority and all that kind of stuff. And there can be good indicators, but again, we've been able to achieve results with like not focusing on those metrics at all. So that all said, domain authority stacking was a way, again, back 7-8 years ago, where if you could boost the domain authority for a domain past a certain threshold, anything above 40, it would start to rank quite well. And if you could get above 60, forget about it. It was easy to rank like even new pages on the site. And so what we used to do is we would manipulate domain authority a number of different ways. I'm not going to get into all of them because there was a number of ways we did it. But, and again, like I said, I don't think it necessarily works that much anymore, although I'm sure there's some people out there that are still probably doing some similar tactics and getting results. We got away from that. But one of the ways that we used to do it was amazing was we would find, like, for example, old, like go to, I think it was expireddomains.net or something like that. And we would find dropped domains. So these were domains that were expired, that somebody had let expire, that had been used at one time, but then they went through the whole auction process and then and nobody purchased them. So you could buy them as closeout domains for like $5. No shit. You could register them for like $5. And some of these were like Chinese domains that had thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, and even in a few cases, hundreds of thousands of subdomains. And since the domain wasn't live anymore, like when you did a search on it, you'd see that there was, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of backlinks built to these Chinese domains that had like all these subdomains that were no longer existent. So we would buy the domain for like $5, $6, whatever it was. And then we would set up a what's called a wildcard subdomain redirect so we would point the domain to a server, a host. Then using the htaccess file, we'd set up a wildcard redirect to redirect all of the non-existent subdomains to the root. And it would power up that root like it was crazy because all those backlinks and everything would all of a sudden like consolidate to the root, and it would boost the root domain to like seriously in a week's time. Remember, Moz's domain authority metrics, they would refresh. I think it was about every 2 weeks. It might have been 3 weeks at the time. And so you would have to wait 2 or 3 weeks for the next Moz refresh to see what kind of an effect the domain authority, like how much you boosted it. And it was crazy because, doing the subdomain redirect method, you could go from a 0 to like above 40 in one Moz cycle, one refresh cycle. Other ways we would do it was just set up a subdomain on a new domain and then just give it to our link builder, Dedia, the same guy that builds links for us at MGYB now, and just have him do, huge, hundreds of thousands of spam links to the subdomain. And it would just raise the domain authority to where when we would build on the root domain, pages would index and rank almost immediately, or at least it would give an unfair advantage. So there was a lot of stuff that we would do. So those are just a couple of the methods. But again, we got away from doing that because it started to stop, like it stopped working as good as it used to. We started to see a diminishing return from that. And that was about around the time that we stopped using metrics is when we started seeing Google adopting semantic, semantic web search technology, so that we, so essentially we were realizing that things were going towards entity-based SEO at that time. And so we got away from all of that and started working on activity, relevance, trust, and authority. So again, that's why I don't recommend domain authority stacking anymore. I'm sure there are some people out there that are still getting away with doing some probably really cool things that work. We got away from that, so I can't really speak on how to do that now. It probably would still work as far as boosting domain authority, but I don't know how valuable that is now, is what I'm saying. Drive stacks, as Marco always says, the reason why we got away from doing all that other stuff is because in 2015 is when Marco, and at the time it was Dr. Gary, developed the Drive Stack and RYS, the original RYS Academy, or Rank Your Shit Academy, which was using Google's own properties to basically create the kind of authority that we did with domain authority stacking before, but only using Google properties now. As Marco always says, it's about being in the belly of the beast. Right? So we go into the belly of the beast, which is Google, and we manipulate Google assets and Google properties, knowing that Google's not going to punish or it's not going to punish or penalize itself. So therefore, that's why we call it the SEO shield, because we use all of Google's own properties to shield our money site from any potential negativity that happens from external SEO or off-page SEO. And we do all of the off-page SEO to the SEO shield, and you allow the high authority Google properties and some of the other properties, but mainly Google properties, kind of filter or link launder, like link laundering, right? We link launder launder the links essentially that are flowing through the Google assets back to the money site, so that we are basically stripping any negativity from from any potential penalties that link building can cause, if that makes sense. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Anybody want to comment on that? I know we used to do a shit ton of that way back in the day.
I'm good.
Very good. Edward says, hey, awesome channel. These Hump Day Hangouts been following for a while. Okay, thanks, Edward. He says, question regarding on-page. Is it possible to load any tweaks or code, schema, meta, H1 from external sources regarding on-page? Is it possible to load tweaks or code, i.e. from a text file on another server URL, or would this present a security issue? Reason why is to be able to control clients' on-page optimizations restored to default without accessing the WordPress logins. Thanks. I don't know about doing anything from a text file, because I don't really understand what it is you're trying to do with that. But you can load code and schema, for example, using Google Tag Manager, because that's what Tag Manager is, right? If you go to Google Tag Manager, and if by the way, if you guys ever want to learn anything about Google Tag Manager, go look up. You can go to measureschool.com. This guy's name is Julian, I think. I always say that. This guy right here, young guy, he's, well, maybe not so young anymore, but younger than me. He's got amazing training on Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. This guy is a total data nerd, and it shows, but he's really good at explaining stuff. He's got a ton of really good training. A lot of it's free. If you go to his YouTube channel, by the way, Measure School, youtube.com, I think /Measure School, he's got a ton of free videos and playlists for Google Tag Manager and playlists for analytics and all that. So you can go in there and probably get all the training that you need. That's where I learned how to do most of the stuff I do with Tag Manager, was right through here, through this guy. Okay. Anyway, so with Tag Manager, yeah. So Tag Manager gives you a container code that you install in the header of your site, and there's a body container too. But anyways, you install the container code to a site, right? So you add it to a site. And then you can update, add scripts, JSON LD, so structured data. You can add remarketing pixels, all kinds of stuff through Tag Manager. So you log into Tag Manager and you're able to, add and subtract code and scripts and things like that to the site remotely, because basically the container code is there, and whatever you add in Google Tag Manager will render through that container. So yes, you can do it. I don't know about a text file, though. I don't know what you're trying to do with that, and I'm not sure how that would work. But as far as scripts and schema and stuff like that, you can. Adding like content into a page, I don't know how you would do that, because these are like scripts and things that run in the background, not visible, right? So like, for example, you're talking about adding code to the HTML header of a page and not like, in the content body of a page, if that makes sense. So you can add scripts and things, but as far as adding remote like content to a site and all that kind of stuff, I don't know of how if that's possible, and if so, I'm not sure how to do it. Does anybody here have any ideas on that?
No.
Okay, that's a no.
Nope.
Next question. Regarding 301 redirects, can I register a new domain and use it to point all off-page work to instead of to the client, i.e. SEO Shield or any other backlinks such as PRs, and then 301 redirect to the client? Yes, you can absolutely do that. I used to do that all the time. In fact, what I used to do with new clients, and I don't do this anymore, but I used to, I would build their site and then I would clone their site and I would buy a domain that was very similar to their domain, a lot of times just a different extension. And I would install the clone site onto the secondary domain that I purchased that I owned. And then what I would do is I would do a one-to-one ratio, page by page redirect from all the pages on the site, my site, the domain that I purchased. So the cloned site was on the domain that I purchased, and I would do a one-to-one redirect from all the pages of the clone site to the new site. And then I would, just use the sitemap to extract all the URLs from the new site. And then I would use all of those as link building targets for link building, so that in the event that a client would decide that they wanted to, cancel services with me, all I would have to do is go in and remove the redirects, and all of the link building that I did would benefit the site that I created and not theirs. Obviously, I would have to go in and change like logos and things like that and change the text on the site slightly so that it wasn't an exact duplicate of their site, which I would do in the event that we had to, if that makes sense. But it was a way that, like, yeah, because there was not a lot, but there were a few times where, I was able to take a site that a client decided that they didn't need my services for anymore, remove the redirects, rebrand the existing site, the one that I, had set up as a clone. I would rebrand it, change the content slightly and everything, and then it would become a lead gen asset that then I could turn around and rent to another contractor in that same area, or I could sell leads. And I did that a few times. The only thing is there's a little bit of a first of all, it adds a lot of additional work. I understand it is a way to protect your time investment and all the work that you've done. I get that, but it does add a lot of additional work initially, but then also as you continue to do more work for your client, there's going to be a lot of times where it's just not really feasible to point like links from the content that you're producing for them to like your own domain that then redirects to theirs, because they're paying you for that kind of content. What I mean about that is, like, for example, if you were to set up a press release account or order press releases for your client, the press releases should be linking directly to the client's website, in my opinion. Branded assets, for example, you wouldn't want to put your redirect domain in branded assets for them, because again, in the event that they decide they don't need you anymore, now you've got your domain URLs or your URLs in their profiles, and that could cause even potentially legal issues, right? So there's times where that's inappropriate altogether, in my opinion. And so I kind of got away from doing it. And here's the other thing, like for blog posts, if you're doing blogging as part of your content marketing and SEO strategy, which is what I do for all of my clients, hence the Syndication Academy, and we do content marketing on the regular, at least 2 posts a week, but oftentimes more. If you're blogging, think about that. When you publish a blog on their, or publish a post on their blog, and it syndicates to their networks and all that, think about all the additional work it would take to go in, and every time you would go to publish a blog post on theirs, you'd have to redirect all the URLs that were in there and all that. It just becomes a nightmare. It's too much work. And so again, there were times where, like, over time, especially if I had a client for many, many months, it got to a point where the work that was the link building and things that were done directly to their property through content marketing and press releases and that kind of stuff would end up overpowering what was initially done to the clone site that I had made, a copy site that I had built the links to and everything else. So there was like a diminishing return, and the workload was higher. So again, I got away from doing that. So getting back to what we're doing with the SEO Shield, again, guys, if you have control over the SEO Shield, you can do very similar than without having to worry about all the redirects, right? Because if you're doing all of your external link building to the SEO Shield and then the customer or the client decides they don't need you anymore, can't you just, you know, if you decided that that's what you wanted to do, I'm not encouraging anybody to do this, but you could always go in and eliminate the drive stack or set it to non-public, if that makes sense. And you basically would kill all that juice that was flowing from that drive stack to the customer site or the client site with that single switch of permission settings in Google Drive or through deleting it. Does that make sense? So, you know, again, I don't recommend going through all that trouble of doing redirects, because over time it becomes more and more cumbersome and harder to manage. And there's just times where it's just inappropriate to do that, in my opinion. So it's a great question though. Does anybody else want to comment on that? Okay. Next, last question from Edward. It looks like he says, also never talked much about it here. PBNs and PBN links. Do you use them? Like them? If so, why? Wouldn't they be good for powering up the shield? Sure, they would be. I wouldn't use PBN links to direct to the money site, but they will absolutely work for powering up entity assets. So hitting the SEO Shield properties, for example. But we just don't. I don't use PBN links anymore because I got tired of building PBNs after having, you know, many of them de-indexed over the years. And it's so much harder to build PBNs. Now, if you're buying links from a PBN, remember, be careful with that. But as long as you're not pointing them directly to your money site, yes, you can get away with that. I don't recommend anybody. I mean, some people are really good at it, but the way that to build PBNs now to where they're basically undetectable is difficult, and it requires a lot of work. And you have to build sites that generate their own traffic and rank well themselves for the links to be valid or valuable anymore. So we got away from doing that because we don't need to, because we point all our links to our SEO Shield property, so we can just get away with spam links, which is what our link building service does. It's cheaper, it's inexpensive, it works well. But yes, PBN links can be good for powering up entity assets, but I would never point them directly to your money site. I don't use PBN links. However, I do use on occasion guest post links. Then those can be rather expensive too, but they can be rather powerful. And I'll use guest post links strategically to power up specific points of my SEO Shield. And occasionally, with very specific testing, I will point a guest post link at a particular page or a post on a money site, but that's usually only very rare, and it's usually only if I'm testing for where I'm trying to get something to budge that was unable to through other methods. So, but yeah, I don't recommend PBN links unless you're just using them to power up entity assets. Okay, Austin Don's up. He says, on city location pages, which schema do you recommend, or should I use local business throughout? Austin Don, that's a great question. Yeah, you should, for location pages, for individual locations, use local business schema. And then for the organization or the company, right, you would want to put organization schema at least on the homepage. I don't recommend doing it site-wide. I used to years ago, but if you understand structured connected schema or connected data, nested schema is another way to call it, then if you understand how to connect those schema types properly, then you can have organization schema on the homepage, and then for each location page you put local business schema, and it will reference the organization in the structured data schema, so it will pull that structured data in anyways. You know, I can't show you guys how to do that. There's some really good training at schemaapp.com for a lot of that. They encourage you, they teach you how to use their tool, and they want you to subscribe to their tool, and I think it's like $30 a month for their lowest plan. It's a great tool. It does have a learning curve, but they've got some good training on how to do those kind of things with their tool. So if it's something you're really interested in learning about, I would recommend you go check out some of the training that they have if you feel like using the tool would help you. I do use the tool. I'm not, just to be 100% transparent, just because schema can get so complex, and if you miss a comma somewhere or a quote or a squiggly bracket or something, then it screws up it invalidates the whole thing. So I use that app specifically because I just don't have the patience to learn how to code schema by hand. So I use that tool, just total transparency. But yeah, organization schema is best on the homepage. And then for individual locations, you put structured data, local business structured data on those pages. Okay. It's a good question. All right, moving on. The next one is BB. What's up, BB? I wondered where you were. He says, hey guys, you started very early today. Oh, no. Time changes, BB. Wait, this is the US and we're stupid over in the US. We got to mess with our clocks twice a year and change the time. Twice a year, we change the time. It moves forward. And then 6 months later, it moves an hour back. So you just got caught up in our stupid time changes in America, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, moving on. He says, do you test titles for higher click-through rate, and how to test title without giving up rankings and with increasing the CTR? Yeah, I mean, go back to the beginning of today's webinar where we talked about poking. That was one way you could test titles. Granted, they were YouTube videos, and obviously Google ranks YouTube videos differently than it does, standard web pages. But that's how we would do it. Like when I used to do that a lot, I would do, like, again, Live Rank Sniper, Peter Drew's tool. I would take the titles that I wanted to test and create scheduled live streams with Live Rank Sniper. Live Rank Sniper. You didn't even need a video. And then I would run the tool, determine which titles rank the highest, and then that's what I would use to optimize my titles with. But remember, is it apples and oranges, right? Are you comparing apples to oranges? If you're testing with a YouTube video, but you're trying to rank standard like text-based content, unless it's on a Google property, I don't know that that's really still a valid way to do that. I used to do that years ago, but I don't know that that's still a valid way to do it. So how do you test titles? I honestly don't know. Besides that, I mean, you could always just create a few pages with different titles and very minimal text on them and just let them index and see which ones rank the highest. Even not saying that it would rank on page one, that you wouldn't even consider that, but just, take however many titles you want to test, publish them to a domain with minimal content on each, and then just see which ones, when they index, see which ones ranked the best. And then you could use that as your title for your actual content on your money site, if that makes sense. That might be another way to do it. Okay. Oh, we're almost out of questions. Well, we might be wrapping it up early today, guys. And that's all BB's fault for not posting 18,000 questions. So anyways, BB, get to posting some questions or we're going to wrap it up early. He says, how do you get in a niche that everything is written and that it seems nothing to improve there? No, that's not true. Like, everything, there is nothing new. Like, is that there's always angles that you can squeeze into. It's kind of hard to pull something out of my ass to give you as an example. But there's always ways that you can kind of wiggle your way into a space. You have to get creative, I guess, but there's certainly ways. There's no way that there's a particular niche that is just everything's been written about it, and there's no way that there's anything that could be new written about it. I mean, you could just reword shit and it's new, right? So anybody have any comments on that? How can we give him some advice? Okay, nobody else wants to contribute.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about this. It depends too. This kind of BB in the question. I was thinking again, content. Like, if you're looking at a niche and it's, I'm thinking like affiliate site kind of mindset where like everything's been written. You have great articles, really in depth, and that may be part of like a research. Like, well, then maybe you don't attack that niche if like there's really strong players, or if there's multiple angles and they're all really well done. Then maybe that's part of your criteria to say, hey, my odds are pretty low here. It's going to take a long time. But otherwise, like I agree with Bradley. Like there's generally always an angle, something you can do, but that's kind of up to you. There's no like metric where it's like, okay, if they wrote it this way or this long or from this angle, then don't attack it. That's where your experience comes into play, and you just either have to make the choice to do it and maybe set a tripwire for like, I'm going to work on this project for 6 months. Here's what I expect to happen. If I don't hit this metric, then I'm going to, do something else, or here's what I'm going to do to push further. So.
Thank you, Adam. That was good. And yeah, I mean, like some of the tools that I know, even Adams, he turned me on the conversion.ai. I don't know that that would help, but there's other tools like phrase.io, for example, and some of the others that you could plug some of that content in that you say is well written and can't be improved upon, and probably find ways to improve upon it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's been the single best way I've used Phrase. Like, one is coming up with content briefs for other writers, but then taking the stuff I write and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. And just be like, nope, stop that. Don't get in that rut. Take it over there, see what it says. Cause that it's searching, you know, the top 10, 20 results. Whereas I won't do that. I might look at the top 3 superficially, and it's amazing what that uncovers. So yeah, highly recommend that.
Okay, cool. So next question is from this guy. He says, hey guys, I got my first RYS stack this week. Very impressed. My question is, my main GMB is kind of on the outskirts, somewhat rural. I created a second GMB in my main city. It's only about 8 to 10 miles as the crow flies from my first location. I've thrown a ton at the second GMB and has just never done well. Is it possible they're both competing with each other? Yes, it is very possible. Should I remove one or set them both up as SABs and just have, so service area businesses, and just have the areas not overlap? Yes, you can do that. That's one of the, and it's likely that that's what you're seeing is you've got, if they're, especially if they're the same brand name, if you have 2 GMBs with the same brand name, especially for service area businesses, if they're storefront businesses, you know, where customers come to the business location, then that doesn't happen as often, not nearly as often, because you could have literally a Starbucks 3 blocks away from, you know, in some cases on every block, right? And they'll still show up in search. But with service area businesses, yes. And I've experienced that many times myself. In fact, I think it was 3 years ago now when I developed a training called Local Lease Pro, and it was about like going out and just securing. This was at the time where you could secure GMBs like nothing. It was crazy easy. And so we developed a training specifically about how to go out and just secure a bunch of GMBs in a particular area. And what I experienced through that was, besides we got a shit ton of GMBs and learned to, you know, how to develop processes for optimizing all of them really well, which was great. But what I learned was that if they were too close together, that they just wouldn't perform well. Like they would kind of compete against each other, or sometimes one would like trump some of the others that were around it, and that one would appear, but the other ones wouldn't, like in their locations. And so it would vary. Either they would all suck, or some of them would be filtered out while others would still remain. So yes, it can cause problems that way. So that is one way to remedy it, is if it's a service area business, you should have your service areas set anyways. But if you had one in the rural outskirts, like you said, which was your original, and then you have a newer one that's more in the, you know, more metropolitan area or the city or whatever, the more populated area, then yeah, make sure that you're not overlapping service areas there. So, you know, like I do tree service stuff. So typically we will add in for service areas a county, or if there's more than one location in a particular county, then we'll do it on a city level and even a zip code. I think they stopped allowing zip codes though. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while because I've been trying to stay out of GMBs, newer ones anyways. But I think they stopped being able to add zip codes. I may be wrong about that, but what you want to do is just make sure that you segregate the two to where there's no overlap. And then after that, just give it a little bit of time. Something else is the one that's in the more populated area. Do some geo posts about that. Like, in other words, you can schedule or produce content. You could just use Google Posts for that, GMB posts for that. But you can go out and find areas within the service area that you're going to set for that GMB, and just look at like neighborhoods or, you know, districts or areas, you know, parks, even things like that, that are well-known, like landmarks within Google. And a lot of times you can just go to Google Maps and look like at your location, and you'll see, you can just change the zoom level and you'll see different landmarks or points of interest that have been labeled on Google Maps. And so you can use those as like location relevancy items. Like, in other words, you can create GMB posts where you're targeting your keywords, your products or services, and the location, like the city name, but you also add a few sentences or a blurb about the landmark, that you found as well. Because what happens is if you do that consistently, you can start to influence Google to, tell Google like that, yes, you indeed are working in those areas and you've got content on your GMB to prove it, right, through posts. So that's another good way to do it. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you do that consistently, and also go check out Local GMB Pro if you haven't already, because we talk about how to do all kinds of really ninja things in Local GMB Pro that will help you to overcome some of those issues as well. Any comments on that, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Nigel, what's up, buddy? He says, good day, gents. Appreciative as always. Got an interesting opportunity presented to me recently, and we have about 12 weeks to work on a project and prove value beyond the SEO Shield. What else do I need to order in terms of like press releases, links, packages, wiki, etc.? Just package to order for solid results. Maybe not in 12 weeks, but just as good. An mgyb.co order plan. More specifically, your Alpha Land Realty Assets. What would I need from mgyb to get something similar? Hope that makes sense. Yeah, with Alpha Land Realty, that wasn't a super competitive term anyways. So that's in part why I was able to get such amazing results so quickly from that. And what was crazy about that is I really got crazy SEO results from that with literally no SEO work other than driving traffic to my landing page through traditional marketing methods like direct mail. And that's where I learned how valuable brand searches truly are. Like, so navigational search queries, which is, where somebody does a search for a brand name, and then when it comes up in Google, they click through either the knowledge panel or the, to the GMB if it has one, or to the money site. Those searches, so somebody searches for a brand name and then clicks through, that is a huge, huge SEO signal, because it means that somebody went to Google and searched for that brand, and then they're clicking through, it's satisfying that search query. It's a great signal. And I was able to rank without, like, I wasn't even trying to rank Alpha Land Realty. I was doing, because I built the Alpha Land Realty page on a ClickFunnels. It was a landing page only, and I was using Google Ads, and I was driving traffic to it through direct mail, because I would target property owners in specific areas and send them direct mail and say, hey, if you're interested in receiving an offer for your vacant land, you can either call my call center, and I gave them the phone number, or you can go to, and I gave them the landing page URL. And a lot of people, what they would do is, because I had my logo on the letter that I sent them, instead of them like going to Google and typing in, alphaland.realty, they would go search Alpha Land Realty and then click through to the landing page. And within 3 weeks of me starting direct mail campaigns, and I had Google Ads running too, I was ranking for my top keywords, which was sell land fast Virginia at the time. That was what I thought was the best keyword. And I was ranking for that, and it was purely on activity metrics. And because it wasn't very competitive SEO wise. But that's when I realized just how powerful that really, I knew it was powerful before, but I saw it firsthand. So getting back to your question, Nigel, that's not really, if you're in an industry that has any sort of level of competition, I wouldn't expect those kind of results. What you've got listed here is what I would suggest, the SEO Shield, because that's not going to, 12 weeks is good. That's a good amount of time, but I found, for the most part, drive stacks tend to take a while before they really start to push power. And you have to continue to power them up. So yeah, press releases, if you have a good budget, more press releases is better. Like if you can do one press release per week or something like that, that's fantastic. I do a lot of link building with press releases. So press releases are good. Link building, embeds, everything that you can do to power up the SEO Shield. Content marketing with proper linking, right? So if you understand silos and all that stuff, if you understand how to link properly, content marketing is important. Use the GMB. If you've got a GMB for it, use it. And if you don't have a GMB for it, but if you could get away with getting a GMB for that project, use it, because it does help having a GMB, even if it's not for a purely local project, if that makes sense. So, if you have like a big budget or something and you're looking for some more guidance because you're trying to be really aggressive, Nigel, then, you know, I would suggest maybe posting in one of the groups where we can give you a little bit more of a detailed schedule of services, or at least like, you know, an example schedule of services, but something where we could type it out and you would have something to reference as opposed to just me talking about it, if that makes sense. So just use one of our groups and post in there, whatever groups you're in. And we can come in and kind of give you an example, like, you know, services schedule for how I would chain things together, if that makes sense. All right. Okay, looks like we've got 2 more from BB, and then we're going to wrap it up. What do you think of the ClickFunnels method? No SEO, just email opt-ins and sending emails for conversions. Well, it depends on what you're trying to do, BB. I know I see Adam just because he probably got a good opinion on this, but you know, it depends on what you're trying to do. You know, depends on what you're trying to do. That might be a great method. As I just said, it worked really good for me, sending direct mail to people and it ended up working for SEO, and I didn't even, that was unintended. So that was really cool. But yeah, what do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I think Bradley hit the nail on the head there. Is, you know, it depends, right? You need traffic. So you use a website, to build a funnel, you use ClickFunnels to build a funnel. It's all just a platform where traffic is coming to. So if you're going really strong on the SEO route, then ClickFunnels doesn't really make sense if that's going to be your main route because of the limitations there. But that doesn't mean that ClickFunnels has no utility. You know, like Bradley was saying, he's using direct mail. Other people are using PPC. Other people are using existing businesses. Like I work with e-commerce businesses a lot. And, you know, they'll already have thousands or tens of thousands of people on their email list. And so they can go and get ClickFunnels and they're not even worried about running traffic to it sometimes in terms of PPC. They just use their internal list and it's kind of like a quick testing platform because it is easy to build stuff real quick. And so then they'll just send emails to people and drive their own traffic from social media and their email list. And those are just like 2 or 3 examples of, you know, there's a myriad of ways you can do this. So it's not that your question's wrong. It's just you're not asking the right question. So it's kind of like it works. It's just what's the plan or what are you thinking about?
Yeah. Okay. He says basically just putting no value or a little value and making money from that. Does that exist? Does it exist these days? I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I mean, BB followed up, said monetizing affiliate stuff. Yeah, totally. It just depends. Like, let me just give you an example. Like, let's say, so like something I do is like mind mapping. If hopefully you're familiar with it, it's just the idea of like visually mapping stuff out. And there's tons of software tools. I've been using one for like 8 years and I'm an affiliate for it. And I've made several $1,000s being an affiliate, just promoting it in like, hey, here's videos of how I use it. Here's, you know, the details of how you use it, stuff like that. Mostly through YouTube. But what I could do is say, hey, I've gathered all my videos, all my training. If you want to learn how to use this and not spend money figuring it out for yourself for 3 months, you know, opt in here and, you know, or use my discount link, whatever, you know, the program offers. And then I'll give you all of my training organized in one spot. Like that's something you could do. Yeah. But then again, it comes back to where's the traffic coming from? If it's SEO, probably wouldn't start with ClickFunnels. I would start with YouTube. I would start with a website based on WordPress, something like that. So.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, it looks like we can wrap it up a little bit early because I don't see any more questions, and that's okay because I got to go meet with my tree contractor to test my beta app. So
awesome. Time to go for a run on my end. So I'll see everybody later.
You gotta go for a run.
I'll be in the mountains, but I'm going for a run. So kind of cloudy today. Just get out and hit the hills.